What's up, everybody? Giovanna here. I am so excited that I get the opportunity to hop back on the channel. What I'm going to be sharing with you guys today is my testimony. There have been so many people asking me about my testimony, and I'm really excited to be able to share it with you guys. As many of you may or may not know, I went from the New Age to being saved by Jesus. And so I used to be really far into New Age practices, and Jesus saved me about 2.5 years ago-ish. And so I'm just really grateful, really excited, and my hope is that this video can impact someone's life. Here we go. Let's get started. So growing up, I was raised Catholic. My parents were both Catholic, and they were very, very strict with going to church. And so I was always in church with them. I was borderline forced to go to church. It was a non-negotiable. I had to go to church. I want to say that around age 13-ish was when I decided that I no longer wanted to go to church. And I also happened to get kicked out of CCD. It wasn't totally just church that I was uncomfortable with going and bored with going to, but it was also some of the people. I knew of a lot of the drama, and I was wondering, I would ask myself these questions, and even though I wouldn't vocalize them, I would wonder why these people would go to church for an hour to be holy and then would go back home to live in hell. And it was really strange to me. I started to really think about this stuff and move away from the church because I was judging the people, or because I was simply noticing certain things. And so that's kind of what pushed me away around that time. So I just wanted to give context. I did grow up Catholic. I ended up starting to move away from the church around 13-ish. So as the years went on, I didn't think about, I was trying to, as I was thinking about my testimony and sharing it with you guys, I was trying to think about where I was headspace wise, where my mind, where my thoughts were when I thought about God. And I can't remember. After 13 in my teen years, it was years where I didn't give thought to God at all. Even when I would go to church for special occasions, I was always spaced out, thinking about something else. There was absolutely no thought about God. Funny thing is that, when I was thinking about those years where I didn't have much of a relationship with God, all of those years from 13 to when I got saved, not even from 13 to when I got into the New Age, the only time I would think about God, and I'm sure a few of you guys can relate here, was when you had a really bad stomach ache. That ever happened to you guys? You had a really bad stomach ache and you'd be praying God, if you help me with this stomach ache, I promise I'll be a better person. It's really funny because I would literally do that. But aside from that, didn't think about him at all. Between 18 to 21 was when I started to analyze and thinking a little bit more about God. But it wasn't I was thinking about him because I needed him. I was thinking more about him in a doubtful way. Everything that people had told me is a lie. I was just really rebellious. And I started to lean towards this atheist type of mindset. So if I thought about God, it was in a negative context. It wasn't I was thinking about him because, I felt convicted. It was more this stuff is a joke. I became really, I guess, you can call it angry. I was a little angry at life. I started to really pursue this, I don't know if God is real. And I was pretty vocal about it. Oh, don't talk to me about God. I don't know if that's real. How do you know if that's real? And, questioning people, questioning my parents, questioning, things that, religious people. And I was just really I wasn't buying into it. I was really firm with my beliefs at that time, and to be honest with you guys, I was firm on a belief that I had no idea about, because I don't think I did much research at that time. I was just a part of a group of people and around people that felt the same way, and we were pretty confident about how we felt, and our emotions were high strung on how we felt, but we didn't have much research to back it up. It was just kind of well, how do you know if that's true? And, well, don't talk to me about something that you're not 100% sure is true. Even if there's 1% of that potentially being false, then I don't believe it, because that 1% could be crazy. I know. So fast forward between 21 to 25 was when I was definitely more pushy on the atheist side, where I was that stuff isn't real. Like really, like absolutely no relationship with God, no desire to have a relationship with God. I knew who he was, and as a matter of fact, I was like the type of person that's like, well, if there's a hell, you can send me there. Like that's how my attitude was. I did have some deep rooted anger that, you know, if I were to dig, I guess, and dig and dig and dig, I could figure out, you know, where it came from. But I was just in a really interesting place in my life. When I turned 18, I started dating, and I was in a relationship all the way up until I was about 24, 25. And so, you know, I lived a pretty secular life, and I lived, you know, just not really caring for much. I lived the way that I wanted to live, and, you know, that was just it. Now let's get into what or some people might say is a little bit more interesting. So about 5 months after I turned 25, I met this group of entrepreneurs. And this is when everything changed, guys. This is when I went from not believing in pretty much anything to like some deep new age stuff. So I met this group of entrepreneurs, and I was fascinated by their mentality. I was fascinated by, like, I had never heard of the things that they were talking about, like never. And so my mind was just like, whoa, this is new, this is interesting. Like what, like not only were we talking about entrepreneurship and growth, and I always was like eager for more, but I was really interested in like the spiritual side of what they were talking about, and, you know, like how it all connected, and like I was just drawn in. It was like very, very eye-catching, very ear-itching. Like it was just, I wanted more. I wanted to learn more. And so when I first started to learn about New Age spirituality, I was slightly weirded out by it, but I was also really curious. And so I literally went from one extreme to the other. I went from not believing in anything to believing that God was within me. I went from not believing in anything to believing in a mixture of a whole bunch of different things, from Hinduism, Buddhism, pantheism, to all of the isms that you can think of. I also like started believing that I had some sort of like magical powers within myself that I could attract from the universe, that I could source from the universe, that, you know, all of the power, all of the things that I wanted to accomplish in my life, I could source them, and that I had the ultimate power. And my mindset was in a pretty interesting place. It's really hard, guys, for me to pinpoint like what I believed in, because in the New Age, you kind of just pull from whatever makes you feel good. And it's pretty common within New Age. People just pull from things that make them feel good. And, you know, there's really not much of a background. There's a bunch of word salads as to why you believe in these things, but, you know, it's just kind of like, oh, you feel good about that? Okay, cool, then take it. If something sounded good to me, I just applied it. That's just what I did. To further enhance the things that I wanted to accomplish in my life through the New Age, you know, I would do just about pretty much anything. Go to Reiki sessions, I would do yoga, literally anything that I was advised to do. I would buy all of these books. I would talk to my crystals. I would worship my crystals. I would go to ritualistic ceremonies. I would watch all these gurus, all these videos. I would listen to gurus that I had like pretty much no idea what they were talking about. I would do all of it. Like, what do I gotta do to reach the places of abundance, of consciousness, of elevated thought, of opening my third eye? Anything that I thought could help me achieve what I was looking to achieve, I would do. I'd participate in pretty much anything. I would meditate, or as my husband likes to say, I would try to meditate, because if you know me, I'm like yappy, 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 yappy all the time. And so to get me to meditate, I don't know how I did it. I don't really think I ever meditated. I think I just sat in anxiety for like 30 minutes whenever I did it. I never, like, I can never just like stay still. I'm constantly like going all over the place. And so, yeah, but pretty much I attempted to meditate. I would read my affirmations multiple times a day. I would have affirmations, guys. I would have affirmations in my car. I would have affirmations in my bathroom. Like, I would set alarms to read my affirmations out loud. bruh. The New Age had me really confused because of a lot of the things that the New Age teaches you about, like detachment or a multitude of things that supposedly can help you with emotional challenges. I was really detached from people. I was deeply practicing the emotional detachment, something that I was taught throughout the New Age, to just detach from people, detach from emotions. I was totally okay in thinking that it was okay to love more than one person. It's okay to have multiple partners, polygamy type stuff, like really entertaining these ideologies and these ideas, because a lot of what you learn throughout the New Age is that these ideas and these practices and these things that you welcome can allow you to reach a new level of consciousness, can allow you to reach a higher level of consciousness. And the higher you get, the more enlightened you are. And so, I really just wanted to accept these things because I believed that reaching these new levels could take me to where I wanted to be in my life. And a lot of the things that I wanted in my life were materialistic things. And so this is what kind of like drags you in. You kind of just like, you're dragged in by this like desire of the things of this world, and then you just get deeper and deeper into some of these things, and that now you start to adopt it into your life, and you think that it's okay. A lot of these things I thought was like totally fine, and it was just because I heard it from a few gurus or a few people that I was around was like, yeah, that's fine, that'll help you reach this level, that'll help you do this with your life. And so I entertained it because eventually I just became super accepting of these things because they sounded good, and I don't know, maybe they could help me reach new levels in my life. My thoughts on accepting certain things and experimenting with certain things like drugs, sex, alcohol, and just really getting involved in whatever things like ritualistic ceremonies, witchcraft, which at the time I didn't know was witchcraft, like sorcery, all these things, getting involved in it, like for me was like, it really didn't strike me as anything dangerous. It didn't strike me as anything, crazy. I just really started to adopt these things as just normal, because at that time I was totally okay with me having a truth and you having a truth, and really not fully comprehending logically, like using my brain to understand what some of these things were. Never looked into them. I was completely under the guidance of spiritual mentors. Some of them were actual in-person spiritual mentors, and some of them were like YouTube gurus or books or online mentors, people that I considered to be more knowledgeable than I was. And so therefore I just took their advice and was like, okay, yeah, cool, so and so says he has a PhD, and so let me listen to what he has to say. But never really went further, never really dug into any of this stuff, just kind of accepted it, adopted it. It felt good. I heard a few people that said they had PhDs, were doctors in this, were doctors in that, had a big following, were influential, and I was like, okay, cool, I guess this is legit. Let me just adopt these things into my life. I really thought that like I was the most woke. I was like, I'm awake, I'm woke, like everybody else is asleep. I really thought that the universe could do everything for me, that I just had to obey certain things and follow certain, rules and regulations when it came to like the New Age, and like do things as I was told, and the universe could open up all of the doors, all of the things, all the abundance that I've ever wished for, that I could have it if I just did what I was told. Like I said, guys, I didn't really know much about what I was doing. I didn't have much information on it. It just kind of sounded good, and so I just kind of went with it. I had no idea that this stuff was demonic. I had no idea, guys. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I didn't realize the depths of it. It just all sounded like so good. Sounded like I could have the world in the palm of my hands. And I believed it. And the lights were out for a while. It was like, knock, knock, no one's home. I was living in this like, this peaceful life, all light and love. But inside of me, not so much. I had a lot of things that were going on. And like, the New Age does this, like it like suppresses how you're feeling, because if you express your anger, if you express how you truly feel, if you really start to open up about the things that are going on in your head, you start to attract negativity. Oh no, you can't talk about that because that's too negative, and then whatever happens to you that day, it's because you attracted that into your life. And so I really started to like push and suppress some of these things, like, but I just wanted to be all light and love, and I wasn't. There was a lot of things going on within me that it's like a part of me was like, rah, Gio, like, be real with yourself. Like, this is what's going on. And the other part was like, don't be negative. You know, like, you have to attract the universe and all this stuff. You have to attract everything that the universe wants for you. Like, and then the other side was like, come on, like, but why are you suppressing this? Like, you got to let yourself be, like, real with yourself. Like, you got to deal with this. The other part was like, no, but, you know, what if you don't get that because you continue to speak negative? You're going to attract something into your life that you don't want. It was like a constant back and forth, you know, and like, internally, I was just like really starting to like, there were times that I would completely lose it, but I'd have to lose it on my own. Or I would confide in a spiritual mentor. It usually all led to the same exact road. And, you know, meditate more, read your affirmations, or listen to this video. You got to hear this. It will help you handle and manage this. And this is going to be the perfect talk for you. Nobody ever said, hey, you know, let's go to church. You know, nobody ever recommended, like, let's go seek the Lord. Up until within this same group of entrepreneurs, I met some other people who were actually going to church and invited me to church. Now, they were also involved in like some new age stuff, but not like really deep. And so, you know, they weren't like really heavily involved in like new age stuff, but like, you know, we were kind of like all intertwined. And so in my mind, I thought they all believed the same thing and whatever. Like, they kept telling me, like, you got to come to this church. It's going to be a lot of fun and you're going to really love it. Like, trust me, you got to come to this church. And the name of that church was, drum roll, Hillsong in New York City. I decided to go. They kept telling me, you got to come, you got to come, you got to come. And so I was like, okay, whatever, I'll go to church. I hadn't been to church, guys, in a long time. And so I was like, okay, whatever. I mean, if they're saying it's fun, these people are cool, and I believe them, I know who they are, I believe them when they say it'll be a good time, let me just go to church. I was probably maybe like 20 minutes into the service-ish, and I fainted. Like, completely blacked out. Like, at that time, I was like, whoa, like I had some type of superstition, or I had some type of like thought that it was like the universe was sending me a sign, and like, you know, this was spiritual forces that, you know, were speaking to me. Like, yeah, spiritual forces, but it was like the Lord trying to pull out the enemy from inside of me. I don't know. It was crazy. At that time, I was just like, I was bugging. I was like, this is insane. Like, I'm talking about, I was not conscious, guys. I was completely out, like lights out. It was a very, very, very scary time. And, you know, they had to call the ambulance and all that stuff. And, you know, they came, and, you know, I was just like, oh my gosh, something spiritual must have happened. I must have got some type of energy from the universe. And my spiritual mentors were like, you know, giving me all sorts of thoughts of what could have happened and all this stuff. And I wasn't ready to receive something. I don't know. After that happened, low key, high key, I was very scared to go back to church. I was like, no way, Jose, I want no parts. And in my head, I'm like, this is why I don't go to church, because, And so I was just really afraid, because I didn't want that to happen to me again, especially if this was what some of my spiritual mentors were saying, was some type of spirit, some type of thing that was happening from the universe. I wanted no parts. I'm like, I'll stay away from that. I'm not ready to receive that level of enlightenment yet. 3 to 4 months later, I decided to go back. When I decided to go back, I didn't go back to the New York one. I went back to the Boston one. And I started going regularly-ish, you know, maybe every other Sunday, but I was still not convicted. I just kind of went to Hillsong to get like motivation, to get like personal development. I would write ideas down from what they would say from stage, and, you know, I would use that here and there to have catchy quotes on social media, or to have catchy things to say during a training. You know, because at that time I was training for the company and, you know, speaking in public a lot. And so, you know, I would go to get inspiration. I truly don't remember hearing the gospel. I wasn't convicted. I was still rejecting God. I wasn't like super all bought in on God. I was still kind of like really standoffish. Like, I just kind of go here because I feel good. It's exciting. Like, I like the music. I liked the talks. It was motivating, but I wasn't like sold on Jesus. To make matters worse, I was combining the stuff that I was learning at Hillsong, God stuff, and I was combining it with New Age stuff. And now it was like this little like mumbo jumbo of like confusion. But you couldn't tell me nothing, because I was on point. My chakras were on point, and I was super woke, super enlightened, and I was all set. I knew what I was talking about. I knew I was elevating to a higher level. And so, even though I was all confused at that time, you can tell me nothing. All right, fast forward 2 years go by, and I am in Guatemala building schools with a few incredible people. Now, on my first trip, I was still all kind of whoop whoop up here in the head. But by my second trip, guys, was when everything started to change within me, and I started to feel really strange. Like, I don't know what was going on in my life. I was just like ready for big changes. After going on this second Guatemala trip, I started to feel this connection to this individual that I had never expected to have a connection with, to have any sorts of feelings for, that went beyond just sort of a friendship, because even at that time we weren't like really close friends. So this individual that I'm talking about, you guys know him very well. His name is John Clash, my now husband. At the time of this funky connection that I started to feel, we were just friends, and sort of kind of friends, because we didn't get along that well. That's a video for another time. And so I always thought John was like some weird like Jesus guy. I really never gave him much time, much thought, because I knew he was this like kind of like Jesus weird guy. And you know, at the time of us like growing to like each other a little bit more, which was strange, but at that time I thought it was like some supernatural something, aliens. And so anyway, long story short, John and I really started to like each other, and we started dating throughout the pandemic. We started FaceTime dating, guys, because literally we got back from that second trip from Guatemala, and literally a week after we got back from that trip, boom, airport shut down, full-blown pandemic, panic mode, everyone was in their houses. And so John and I started our relationship through FaceTime. I was still not a believer, and we were dating, and John was a full-blown Jesus man. And I got really curious about a lot of things. I started to ask a lot of questions, and John wasn't really like pushy. He was just very like, would answer my questions, and that's about it. Due to all this curiosity, I'm like, you know what? I love this man, and I want to go to church with him. And I just decided to start going to church with him at Brookfield First in Connecticut. Shout out to Brookfield. Love you guys. Amazing. And now this is when everything changed, guys, like my whole life. Okay, so I went to church, and I sat through this service, and I can't even remember the day. It was one day in the summertime, and I went to church, and I was getting ready to go back to Boston, because I'm from Boston, John's from New York / Connecticut. And you know, that was the church, that was the middle ground. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to church with you, and then I'm gonna drive home. All I can remember, guys, that day, and it's still emotional till this day, and so I'll do my best not to get like teary-eyed on here, even though you probably can still see it looks like I'm crying because I'm super sweaty. I just remember getting in my car, saying bye to John as I went off to Boston, and feeling the most overwhelming, the most powerful, the most sensational, the most beautiful, the most incredible, immense amount of love that had just entered my life. It was like I fell in love, overwhelming, like a fallen head over heels in love for someone. And it was that moment that I felt Jesus enter my life. I felt like my breath was like taken away. I felt like it was this feeling of me wanting to like cry of like sadness and joy. It was like, it wasn't sadness because I was sad that I was accepting Jesus into my life. It was sad because I'm like, what have I been missing? Like, what happened? You know, like how does this even happen? How is this even possible? I just couldn't comprehend how incredible and overwhelming the love was. And, you know, I called John, and I was like in tears. I remember sobbing, like crying. I'm so grateful that I was by myself, but sobbing the entire way. And like calling John and telling him, listen, I think I fell in love. Like I fell in love with somebody, and you know, his name is Jesus, and I don't know how it happened. I'm just like head over heels. I can't express this love. It was just so powerful. It was that day that I accepted Jesus into my life. And I don't know what happened in between. I know I asked a lot of questions. I know that, you know, a lot of things happened. John was telling me a lot of things, and like I was still in the limbo for a while, and then I decided to go to church. And, you know, I don't know, like the Holy Spirit started working in my life, and that moment I accepted Jesus. I'm like, Jesus is my Lord and Savior. Jesus, I love you. Like, I'm so in love with you. Thank you so much. Like, I remember being so grateful, like, and everything just changed for me at that point in my life. Like that day, I was like, wow, I can't believe this is real. Like I couldn't believe that it was like real. John got me a Bible and I haven't put it down since. I burned all my New Age books shortly after, burned every single one of them. And we can talk about burning New Age books and why we do that in another video. But that's how it happened. I just decided like there on moving forward, I wanted nothing to do with anything that wasn't from the Lord. I wanted the Lord to just fill me with him. I just wanted everything about Jesus. I didn't want anything that didn't have to do with him. I didn't want any deception. I wanted to know the truth about everything. And when I learned it, especially from the New Age, that's when I was like, I'm done. I'm through. Like I know the truth now. I know, I know who saved me from where I needed to be saved from. I know, who died for my sins now. And, I'm ready. I'm ready to be free. I'm ready to feel God's love in my life. I'm ready to experience true love. I'm ready to experience true life. I was ready to just fully accept the Lord and whatever it was that he wanted from me. His love was so profound. He accepted me. He saved me from everything that I was going through. He filled me in a way that the New Age could have never, ever filled me the way that Jesus has. And, it's just been an ongoing journey since. And I invite you to accept the Lord into your life. I invite you to accept him as your Lord and Savior. I invite you to simply believe in him and put your trust in him and nothing else but him, and see the changes that are going to start to happen in your life. So I hope this was helpful, and John and I will coordinate so we can talk a little bit more in depth about the New Age and different things that I've gone through personally and share a little bit more insight. But for now, that's my story. I hope it was beneficial, and I cannot wait to continue to share with the world Jesus, who has saved my life and is continuing to save many lives and will continue to do so. Love you guys so much, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And if you guys enjoy this content, I encourage you guys to subscribe, like, and comment. God bless you all.